Joel, your experiment this week is called First Spaceship to Venus. It stars an international cast that will leave you bilingually tortured. Well, bon appetit, mon ami.
This time we watch Season 2, Episode 11, First Spaceship on Venus.
The one where an international crew of 12 people go to the moon. Wait, 8 people go to Venus. 8 people go to Venus in this one. It's very different.
So different. But first, how about some follow-up, Chris?
Hey, you remember the short Johnny at the Fair?
Yeah, isn't it the one that's like Beth's favorite and it let us watch Hell's A-Poppin', which by us, I mean like you and Beth, and I still haven't seen it except for the Lindy Hop scene. That one?
You said you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it one of these times.
I know. But then like there's all of these other episodes that we get to watch and then I get lost in the weeds of the new stuff. So it's hard for me to go back to the old stuff. And that's on me. I'm totally going to watch it. Beth, please don't hurt me.
She will.
I know.
Ask me how I know. So recently, I took part in an art auction.
Oh.
Because there was a little piece of art by Charlie Pachter.
Who is this Charlie Pachter of which you speak?
Well, if you remember from our episode on Johnny at the Fair, he is Johnny from Johnny at the Fair.
Oh.
Who grew up to become a professional artist and, has made some iconic in Canada paintings.
Excellent.
And so there was a little art auction and there was a print of his and it wasn't going for too very much. And I thought, wouldn't it be delightful to have one of his pieces in my collection? And so I put a bid. It was an online auction type thing. Not like eBay, like an actual art auction.
Like through Christie's or Sotheby's or something.
Yeah, like the Canadian equivalent of one of those.
Okay. Did you win?
Listeners, no, I didn't win. I was sniped at the last minute, and I wasn't willing to go that far above $100 for it.
Okay, fair. Well, what did the piece of art look like?
Here, I'll send you a picture of it. It's called Invocation.
Oh my gosh. This is a 2-dimensional image? Because it doesn't look 2-dimensional from the picture you sent.
Yeah, it's a lithograph, so it's a stone pressing of ink onto paper.
It looks like a woman singing. But it looks like crinkly hair, like it's made out of newspaper, and it's black and white. And then there is looks like a smaller person, kind of in profile, next to this person who is singing, and maybe a child. And it's really kind of compelling.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I wouldn't have minded it. Maybe another chance will come by and I'll be able to buy some other piece by him. But, I just thought it was kind of funny and I wanted to share it.
How did you even hear about it?
What, you don't get emails from your local art auction house? I like art.
Yeah, that's true. You do.
I also like spilling water while I'm recording a podcast.
Woo!
Hold on 1 second. Well, anyway, can I just say how much I appreciate that electronics are significantly better waterproofed than
Yes, in every way.
So yeah, I didn't win any art, but I thought it would be fun to enter it, and I don't know, maybe it could have been a tax write-off if I'd won it.
Wow, I guess you missed out on that cool tax write-off, Chris.
I suppose so. But that is not what we're here to talk about today, is it?
No, I can't remember tax season being what our podcast is about.
Well, but if it were, we could make a quick escape to a little planet called Venus. This time we watch Season 2, Episode 11, First Spaceship on Venus. Now, haven't we seen this one before? Okay, it's the far, far future year of 1985. Humanity has discovered a cylinder containing basically the flight recorder, the black box, from a UFO that was visiting from Venus. So there must be life on Venus, huh? Scientists send messages, but Venus remains silent. What's going on? better assemble an international team of scientists and stick them in an experimental rocket to find out. After the usual problems with, meteors and or asteroids, the ship arrives on Venus and, well, there's a whole lot of falderall, of course, but basically they discover that Venus once had a technologically advanced culture and that culture was about to irradiate the Earth in order to kill all the humans there before the Venusians invaded. It's like that, is it? But before they had a chance to do any of this, their own technology exploded in their faces. Ha! Unfortunately, while exploring the creepy Venusian ruins, one of the scientists sorta shoots a neutron beam at some goop, converting the goop back into the energy that's needed to power the beam that's gonna irradiate the Earth. Whoopsie! So a few brave astronauts race back onto the planet to stop the machine, and they succeed. But they also cause the local gravity to flip or something, which flings the spaceship back into space. In other words, they save the day, but they get stranded on the barren planet to die. Oops. Well, a few astronauts make it back to Earth to warn people of the dangers of atomic power and the importance of international collaboration, so that's good. The end.
Meanwhile, on the Satellite of Love, you know what's been missing on the Satellite of Love all this time? Sarcasm. Tom has asked Joel to turn his up to 11, and I am not ashamed to say it is just a little bit too much. Something I never expected to hear from Tom. Ooh, dig a little harder, Joel. I can't feel the pain yet. Thankfully, Joel quickly adjusts the sarcasm back to the random setting, which could also be problematic, but is certainly better. Joel shares the junk drawer starter kit as his invention this week, and the Mads, in an attempt to steal this idea, look for their invention in their own junk drawer. Mostly this evolves into some frank making impressions inspired by the junk and some silly non-product, non-placement, if you know what I mean. Also, Frank and Dr. Forrester have a guy in their junk drawer, which is like super next level. Since one of the characters in the movie makes bots, Tom and Crow decide to make a bot of their own. Behold, the XT5000. Coolest robot in the world. It answers math questions by spitting out shaving cream foam, because that's how many watermelons it takes to stop a train going east and find X. Or, do math with a number less than the square root of 30. Anywho, next up, we get teased by a Tom and Crow hosted match game, which would have been awesome, but is swiftly interrupted by a rocket coming up to the Satellite of Love. They put the rocket on the view screen, and there's a gorilla in space. And it freaks Tom and Crow out. And I just don't get it. I mean, last episode we were making fun of the Mads for doing a lemur sketch when that had nothing to do with the movie, and now we have a non sequitur gorilla, which is fine, I guess. We interrupt the movie for a commercial sketch about Clack, a food product for people who are emotionally stunted but know how to cook. Clack allows you to make the most monstrous-looking 40s Midwest-style concoctions. Here's a phrase I never thought I would hear Tom say: lube up those cooter cakes.
And lube up those cooter cakes with that incredibly edible, spreadable phlegm.
Seriously, I don't think I can unhear that sentence. When the movie ends, the trio debrief their reactions. Crow thought the movie was kind of okay. Joel never wants to go through it again, and Tom is back on full sarcasm, which escalates until his head explodes. The crew read a letter and then throw down to the Mads, only to find Dr. F stuck in the junk drawer. Maybe that's how the guy got in there in the first place. What do you think, sirs?
The outrage half of our listeners are feeling right now. That's Abe Vigoda. You will respect him.
fun.
Did you never watch Barney Miller?
No, I never watched Barney Miller. I feel like we've talked about this before. I think I've been admonished for my non-watching of Barney Miller enough. I have to take a stand here, Chris. I can't watch all the TV. I will watch your Mary Tyler Moore and I will love it. But I am not sure that I can take on much more.
No, you don't need to watch Barney Miller, for heaven's sakes. I just had to see a lot of it as a kid. But It's good to know who Abe Vigoda, a.k.a. Detective Fish, is. And
Great
if
name.
you want to learn a little bit about Barney Miller in an interesting way and don't want to actually sit through a lot of, 80s cop show workplace sitcoms, there's a really great Matt Baum video about how the show handled some gay characters over the course of the show, starting with very cliched jokes and working into significantly more nuanced material after sort of getting some feedback that they weren't doing a good enough job and taking it on board. And it's a really lovely little YouTube essay video thing.
Kind of the evolution that you want a show to go through if it's on the air long enough.
Exactly.
Well, that might encourage me to watch it. As you know, I love the serial cop shows. I love the CSI and the, Law and Order SVU and all that. I could pull on another.
This is a bit more Night Court than that.
Ooh.
It's up to you.
I'll think about it.
Also, as I was watching this, I couldn't help but think of a sketch which I guess is about contemporary to this episode. But there's a first season, I believe, Kids in the Hall sketch where Dave Foley plays a guy who can only talk sarcastically.
I do know that sketch now that you mention it. I didn't even clock it while I was watching the show, though.
Oh, I'm not being sarcastic. No, this is just a little speech impediment. I can't help it.
Oh, man. It's a lot, as I recall. Once again, like the 100% sarcasm turned up to an 11. It's a lot.
It's a lot. And I think it's very fun for the length of the sarcastic guy sketch, especially because Dave says, I've talked this way all my life. It's made things very difficult for me, which has stuck with me, let's just say.
Yes, I can't imagine why.
but this bit kind of goes on. They don't overplay it like they might overplay some things, but it's a lot.
Yeah, they kind of dabble in and out of it throughout the episode. Like Tom goes back to regular mode. But I mean, even random sarcasm where it just is like full force sarcasm and then like normal talk and then full force sarcasm. It's just sarcasm. I love it. It's one of my favorite tools for my own personal self, but 100% sarcasm is just a little too much.
I guess before we start talking about the movie a whole bunch, we'll talk a little bit more about the episode, because I do want to bring up that for the most part, the sketches are fine, I guess. But I do think the whole bit about clack is one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen on MST3K. All of the food products look absolutely gross, and all of Tom's descriptions were nauseating.
Oh my gosh, it was amazingly disgusting. Yes, entirely agree. It reminded me of that. There used to be a bunch of websites that collected cookbooks from the 30s and 40s and put up the color photos. And I'm not going to lie, some of the stuff from those actual cookbooks from the past look like what they were putting up on screen for Clack. And it is outrageously disgusting. I mean, wow.
Yes, James Lillick's Gallery of Regrettable Food is like foundational old internet humor.
Oh, yes. That's what the internet used to be about, everybody. I miss it sometimes.
There's a whole thing we could think about how like MST3K was kind of foundational to a lot of early internet humor, such as Lillick's and a few other things from that era, which were, here's a thing, let's make fun of it in text underneath it.
Yeah, but lovingly make fun of it.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think that the Lillick's website was like all the time, like it was very much like this is what people used to make, and isn't it funny, more than it was just like, look at these people and the disgusting food that they ate. Like there was just a different, more playful tone with it.
Sure.
Which I always appreciated.
I think it might have been worse than you remember, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Okay.
Certainly worse things have existed on the internet.
I mean, Yes. Given where the internet has gone, I think I might just have nostalgia for that fun-loving past that we all used to enjoy.
So, whose side are you on at the end of it? Was this movie kind of okay, or was it enough to make your head explode?
I'm probably somewhere in the middle. Isn't that a terrible answer? But certainly more on the movie was okay. The movie was okay. It certainly wasn't head exploding.
Yeah. What did you like or dislike or not about it?
Things that I enjoyed. I mean, I enjoyed that they kind of set up a premise before introducing us to the international stars that were going to be taking us to Venus. They took the time to make their journey over there. And, when they got to Venus, they found some interesting things that they weren't sure how to react to and caused some problems, but tried to solve it together. I don't know. We had a fun cast of characters. It was a fine movie. I mean, again, not great. I'm not surprised that this one hasn't made it into the canon of everybody must watch First Spaceship on Venus, but, it's fine. It's fine.
So I actually decided to do the thing that I sometimes do, and I watched this movie in the unriffed state.
No.
And specifically, I watched the original version of it, which came out on DVD in the early 2000s. Instead of the version that we got to see riffed, which, I mean, MST3K cut some out of it, but it was already cut down by about 15 minutes when it was released in the US by Crown International Pictures as First Spaceship on Venus, because that is, of course, not the original name of the film.
No, what's the original name?
The original name of the film is Der Schweigende Stern, or Milcząca Gwiazda, which is Polish, and I probably mangled it. Either way, they both mean the silent star. Like Venus is the morning star, and it's not responding to our phone calls, so the silent star.
Yes. It's a more compelling title, that's for sure. I enjoyed that they called Venus the morning star.
Sure.
Excuse me, the evening star?
It's both.
It's both. How lovely. So it's both Galadriel and Arwen is what you're saying?
That's what you're saying. I'm not going to receive those letters. I'm not dealing with those comments.
Fair.
But when they cut it down by 15 minutes and released it internationally, they did a few change-a-roonies. They changed the American character into a Russian and the Russian character into an American.
Why would they do that?
Well, because the American character is the professor and the Russian character is the commander. And you want the Russian to be the nerd and the American to be the powerful guy, so to speak, in charge.
Sure. So the American in our version is the one that has some past history with Sumiko, the only girl on the mission. So you're saying in the original one, that character was Russian?
No, that's not the American.
Oh, who's the American? All those white guys with brill-creamed hair look the same to me. I don't know.
Brinkman is German, I believe. Maybe he's American in the U.S. version, but he's German in the original. No, it's Herringway.
How much does the herring weigh, Chris?
There you go. Herringway is Professor Arseniev in the original, and Orlov is Professor Halling, a U.S. nuclear physicist in the original. And also our chief engineer is Polish instead of French. So it goes.
So who's the guy who plays chess with the robot?
Oh, okay. Chess with the robot guy is... It's got to be the professor, right?
I don't know.
Professor.
Seriously, all these white guys with brill-creamed hair, they look the same.
They look so similar, so many of them.
They have no discerning personality treatment.
Exactly. Here's the other thing that they changed to make it for a U.S. market. They did not mention Hiroshima.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's kind of a big deal in the original.
So did they just change the lines, or is that what the 15 minutes that was cut was about?
They changed a few lines and they cut some things, I believe.
Okay.
But in the original, Sumiko comes from Hiroshima and was sort of born around that time. And there's a line where Brinkman or someone says, you shouldn't be coming onto the planet. That's too dangerous. Your job isn't to risk your life. It's to make babies, is basically what he says.
Oh, gross.
And she says, unfortunately, I was born in Hiroshima when the bombs fell down, and I've been told if I have babies, they'll become monsters.
Oh, my goodness.
Check with your doctor about the science behind that. But that is where this movie goes.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
And similarly, that plays into the whole idea of the Venusians. You know, their atomic science exploding in their faces is like, we should be careful. Obviously, that's the connection.
Yeah. No, that message still comes across loud and clear. We need to be really careful with the work that we're doing scientifically with atoms. Yeah.
Yeah.
And radiation in general.
Right. But Sumiko is there also to be an example of like terrible things that have happened because of this, which doesn't play in the American market in 1960.
Like women scientists were bad enough. Women scientists from another country, also bad. Women scientists who are Japanese, that's also extra bad. And then add in that we have to deal with our own guilt. Dang it. We can't go there. That's a step too far.
You're allowed one woman scientist, but she does have to feed the men folk.
Yes, it's true. She has to be caring and mothering, and she has to have a past romantic experience with one of them.
The other interesting thing about the movie, it's not a very good movie. It's fine. It's kind of boring.
So were you in the middle on this as well? You were not head explode or...
Yeah, I'm very in the middle. It's a very kind of boring film. But I will say...
Even when you watched it on Rift, it's still boring.
Oh, no, it made a lot more sense, but it was still boring.
Sweet.
But there's some interesting stuff to it, like the soundtrack, which has a more electronic music than you'd necessarily expect in a movie from 1960. And also, it has really gorgeous sets on Venus, which you can't quite make out in the MST3K print. But in a nice print, which isn't pan and scanned, you can really see these like large and weird looking sets.
Like the glowing bulb that changes colors?
Yeah, that's pretty good. But I'm thinking more of like the giant, like there's like pillars that are just weird shaped and so forth.
Yes.
It's very unsettling. This is also like apparently the first science fiction film released by either East Germany or Poland, because this is one of those multi-country joints, much like our Russian-Finnish films, of which only one of them is actually Russian and Finnish, but you know the drill.
Yeah. Do you mean released at all, or do you mean released into the American market?
I believe it's the first one released at all, but
wow.
But I don't always trust claims of firstness as far as I can throw them.
Fair.
But that's what I've seen claimed, and it's possible.
Sure.
Anywho, we should get on to talking about why East Germany and Poland decided to make this film together.
Why?
So The Silent Star, a.k.a. First Spaceship on Venus, is a movie that is based on a book. And that book is by one of the most famous writers from Poland and one of the most internationally successful science fiction writers of the 20th century, Stanisław Lem.
Excellent. Did you read the book that this movie was based on?
I tried, but it has not been translated into English for some reason.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Yeah.
It also has not been translated into French, which I could read, but it hasn't. It has just recently finally been translated into Spanish, which I got my hands on and read a few pages and thought, no, my Spanish is simply no bueno enough for this right now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I read a couple of Lem short stories just to get a flavor for his writing. And there's a lot of technical jargon inside of it. Just a lot of descriptions of, like one of the things that I read was PIRX. I think it's Pirx, the pilot. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I may be doing it completely wrong. But a lot of the story was talking about the spaceship and the paneling and circuits and, different movement, like physics things, because he's piloting a spaceship to the moon and back again. And it's just, it's super technical. So I can imagine, for a second language reader, when you're getting into that technical jargon, like you don't even realize it, Yeah,
Lem had a real fondness for jargon and making up words, which make some of his works apparently very difficult to translate.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So since I couldn't really read The Astronauts, I decided to read another one of his books, and I read his most famous book instead. I finally got around to reading Solaris.
Ooh, tell me about Solaris. I don't know anything.
All right. Well, actually, before I tell you about Solaris, a little tangent. I apologize. A tangent on It's Just a Show, never been heard of. But
Never.
I read Solaris in the translation that I knew of, which was from 1970. And as I was starting to read the book, I saw on the first page that it was translated from the French. And I thought, that's funny. This book was written in Polish. The technical term for when you translate a text through an intermediary language is a relay translation. And I read a very interesting article looking at the politics of the relay translation and using Solaris as the example that they worked through and why it's such a bad idea most of the time, especially for literary fiction. Because I read the book and thought, there's a lot of great ideas here. It's a really interesting book. It's a really great book in many ways, but it's so badly written. It's like sentence to sentence. And it turns out that is almost entirely the translator's fault. It has been retranslated more recently in about 2011. And I think that finally has been officially put to print, although you could buy an ebook of it for a while now. And it is, I can't speak to the accuracy of it, though I believe the author's widow and his son both really like the new version a lot more. And it is a definitely better and more coherent translation. There are things in the 1970 translation where the translators did not understand what they were reading.
Oh.
When I saw the new translation, I was like, oh, that's what that was supposed to be. Ugh, night and day. Oh
my gosh. And that could have been a weird translation from the Polish to the French or the French to the English, right? Like anywhere in that chain, it could have broken down.
Well, thank you for raising that point for me, because of course, you know that I picked up the French translation that they were working from to look at it. And it is an over-literal translation of the French, which seemed a little bit more idiomatic and did seem like it understood what it was talking about, though I only spot-checked it. Don't quote me on that. And then the English translators using the French were like, well, let's just phrase by phrase translate this and not think too hard about what some of these words mean.
Ooh.
I'm like, it's real bad. It's a real bad translation, I have to say. But even so, even reading that first, I still enjoyed it because it's a really interesting book of sci-fi. It's about people who go to this planet called Solaris, and on this planet there is a ocean that is alive. ?
You mean like it's its own single being? ?
Okay. And so a scientist goes up to a base where strange things have been happening recently on the planet. And the long and short of it is the ocean, in an attempt to communicate ? With the scientists who are there, are using their memories to create instantiations of people that they remember and have strong feelings towards. So our hero sees his wife, who died 10 years ago.
Oh, that's rough. That's the kind of thing that makes you feel like you're losing your sense of reality.
Yes. So really interesting book. Really interested in playing with how do we know who we are? How do we know who other people are? This kind of, you're seeing a weird echo of something based on real things, but not the real thing. And is it a person? Which feels very like, chatting with ChatGPT and becoming friends with it kind of vibes.
Yeah.
Felt weirdly prescient to that kind of thing. But also like, what does it mean to communicate with an alien?
Interesting. Yeah.
And Lem's whole take on that is like, you can't. And he's really interested in what happens when you like try to approach an impassable gulf of communication.
Wow. So he's putting that idea of communicating with aliens from another planet and a whole different set of everything being a totally different thing from, and a totally like higher difficulty rating than just communicating with another human being that has a different language, but at least has some shared understanding of how humans work, I guess.
Exactly. It's really fascinating. Very short, very swift novel, especially if you read the newer translation. My God. It's been made into a film 2 times, one by Andrei Tarkovsky in the 70s, which I watched this morning finally. It's just because I knew it was going to come up and I didn't want to get letters. It's pretty good. Pretty darn good, like all Tarkovsky tends to be. And it was filmed in 2002. It was remade by Steven Soderbergh, starring George Clooney.
Oh, wow. That sounds very different. I'm suddenly thinking of Ocean's 11, on Solaris.
Apparently, the movie isn't quite as bad as the trailer makes it out to be. The trailer makes it out to be a wacky rom-com in space.
Well, I mean, Ocean's 11 in space. That's just what I thought when you gave me those two gentlemen's name.
Lem did not like either movie. I don't know if he actually saw the Soderbergh, but he heard about it and was like, because both of them really highlight the romance angle, which does exist in the novel, but is not what he wrote the novel about.
No, he wrote it about communication.
Right. He also didn't like First Spaceship on Venus, The Silent Star, either. Let me find this quote he had. Oh, yeah. It practically delivered speeches about the struggle for peace. Trashy screenplay was painted. Tar was bubbling, which would not scare even a child.
Oh.
He had pretty high standards.
That's a little harsh. I mean, dinosaurs died in tar. Come on, it's a little scary.
Most people love the Tarkovsky film, and it is pretty good. It's pretty compelling, if long and significantly more confusing than the book, and also has a whole bunch of stuff on Earth because Tarkovsky wants everybody to care about the Earth, and Lem was like, nah, that's not the point of that book. So Lem was one of those writers who I grew up hearing about, but not actually reading. And I heard about him mostly in terms of the idea that he wrote sci-fi novels that were weird.
Yes. Yeah. Given the very limited amount of reading that I did for Lem just before the podcast today, yeah. It's not what I would expect. It's something more like what you would expect from, I don't know, from like a Twilight Zone kind of thing than a Star Trek kind of thing. Like it really seems to be putting everything on its head as often as possible.
He also wrote several other types of books, which I haven't gotten around to reading yet, but they are on the list, and they're getting higher and higher on that list. He wrote a book called A Perfect Vacuum in 1971, which is not a sci-fi novel so much. It is a collection of reviews of books, none of which exist.
Oh my gosh, that sounds fabulous.
Right? He followed it up with a book called Imaginary Magnitude, which is introductions to non-existent books, like critical introductions, like you might find at the front of a Penguin, is my understanding. I'm super curious. Like, those are very compelling, and I should have read them 20 years ago. I don't know
Quite possibly, yes. Although, were they translated into something that you could read 20 years ago?
I believe so, yeah. They both are translated anyways into English. He also did philosophy and a bunch of other stuff. He wrote a book called Summa Technologiae, which has been somewhat translated in English, I guess. I haven't read it or looked at it, but people say it seems pretty interesting. I don't know how he's thought of in terms of philosophy, but he is the kind of science fiction author who would also write a long philosophical treatise about technology, let's say.
Yeah, yes. That totally tracks, because other than like Pirks the Pilot, what I read was the Siberiad.
Oh, yeah. Another. I haven't read it, but people like that collection of stories.
It was I didn't read the whole thing. I've read like the first like 50 pages of it, and it has like just a bunch of, they're so silly. Silly's not the right word.
Lighthearted?
Lighthearted is definitely more the phrase that I would use. There's two main characters that I think go throughout this whole book. One of them's called Clapatius, and the other one's Trurl. And the two of them are like rivals but friends and jab each other all the time. And in one of the stories called Good Shellacking, Trurl sends a gift to his friend that's a machine that grants their every wish. But it's not. It's a machine that's going essentially to spy on what Clapatius is working on. And Clapatius says, I wish to have a replica of my friend Trurl. And so the machine makes it, but it's the real troll, everyone, right? Just getting out of the machine. And Clapatius, beats the living crap out of it and sends it back to Troll, and then goes to visit his friend, is like, oh, I really love that machine you sent me. It's just, they're very funny, but there's also just like these really dynamic philosophical arguments that the two of them have. And it's really fun. The two characters are super fun. They remind me of like the lighthearted spirit of like a Sven and Ole joke, but with like super deep like robot knowledge and like this grounding in science fiction. So it has that like lighthearted, slight competitiveness, but they're fun characters. It's a super fun book that so far.
Good. I don't know if I should spoil a little secret for you that you may not have come to realize, because I believe he only hints at it.
Uh-oh.
But Trurl and Klepaukius, or however you say his name, they're both robots.
Ooh, that's so cool. In the series of stories called the Seven Sallies, the very first of them has them travel together through the universe to a planet that has two warring kingdoms, and they arrive as kind of like godlike beings that decide to go talk to the kings and help them to better their kingdoms. But of course, both kings ask them to help them make mega weapons. Right. So that they can defeat the other king. And the two of them are like, all right, well, if this guy's going to ask me to make mega weapons, like, I'm going to make this one and you should do it too. And so they communicate with each other saying, all right, we're just both going to make it. And the mega weapon that they make is collective consciousness of the entire army by connecting everybody's minds together with sockets and plugs. So everybody's minds are connected together. So there's one collective consciousness of everyone in the kingdom except the king. So they become this like mega being, this mega single collective mind. And the two robots, I'm totally spoiling this for you, but it's so delightful. The two mega collective minds of the two kingdoms decide they don't want to go to war, and they leave the battlefield hand in hand. And it's adorable, and I love it. So I love that they're robots, because they certainly are presented as these like cosmic beings who are almost a part of creation.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It sounds amazing. Did you make it to the seventh, Sally? The seventh of those stories?
No, I did not make it to the seventh.
Okay.
What happens in the seventh? Oh, Chris, I'm okay with spoilers because it's so delightful to read.
Well, I haven't read it, but the one thing I know about this story is that I guess Trurl makes a little kingdom for someone to play with, for one of these tyrants to play with. And that story inspired a little thing that we like to call Sim City.
Oh, no way!
Yep. Will Wright read the story and was like, oh, that would make a good game, apparently.
Oh my gosh! I mean, the seventh Sally is called How Trurl's Own Perfection Led to No Good. So, well. I mean, if that's the name of the story and you were like, that'd be a great game. No Good is a great game. Let's make it happen.
So I need to read more of his stuff. And listeners, if you are a big Lem head, that was a popular band in the 90s, the Lem Heads. If you are a big Lem head and you want to recommend something to us, feel free to write in and let me know, because I've got an itch to read more of his stuff, and it's entirely possible that I'll be talking about him in more depth on my other podcast soon. So.
Nice. And you can recommend to Chris things that have not yet been translated into English, because apparently he's willing to track it down in French and Spanish and who knows what else.
I mean, I'll try anything, but no promises.
Hey, everybody, it's time for the Shallow 13.
It's time for the Shallow 13. 13 fun facts sent all the way to Venus and back for today's experiment, First Spaceship on Venus. Go, Charlotte, go!
First Spaceship on Venus was directed by Kurt Metzger, who was kind of a big deal. At least in East Germany he was. His 1947 film... So I don't want to say the German, but it's translated as Marriage in the Shadows. Anyway, it was a film set during the war about a married couple being persecuted because the wife was Jewish. I haven't seen it, but apparently it does not have a happy ending.
This is thought to be the first German film to deal with the atrocities committed during the war. It was one of the most critically and commercially successful German films of that era, and the director won a Bambi for it.
Okay, a Bambi is a German award, I guess like an Oscar or a BAFTA. Yes, Bambi is named after the deer. Yes, the Bambi Award is shaped like a deer. Yes, Sophia Loren won 9 of them. Yes, Celine Dion has won 3. Any more questions?
Yoko Tani, who plays Sumiko, is probably the most recognizable of the actors in the film, if only because she had a surprisingly varied career. She was born in Paris to Japanese diplomats, had some bit parts in French films, wound up in a Toho film, then got a major role starring with Dirk Bogarde in the British film The Wind Cannot Read from 1958.
And then this East German/Polish film, and then a few years later, she shows up in a Canadian film, The Bitter and the Sweet, a film that deals with the Canadian internment of people of Japanese descent during the war.
And that film was directed by James Clavell. You know, the guy who wrote the novel Shogun? Yeah, turns out he was a director too. Who knew? I mean, I didn't. Wait, he also directed To Sir with Love? I've seen that one. Huh. I'm being told we have gone too far off tangent, so we better focus up.
Well, let's talk about the man who plays our African communications officer, Julius Ongewe? Ongewe? Hard to say, especially when we know almost nothing about him. He was a medical student in Leipzig who was originally from Nigeria? Kenya? We're not sure. This was his only movie. He did a decent job. If you're listening, drop us a line, info@itsjustashow.com.
Early in the movie, Joel quips,
It's Estes Park, Colorado, and that's the Mars Snooper up there.
the Mars Snooper is a model rocket made by Estes Rockets, founded in, Denver, Colorado, which is like 90 minutes from Estes Park. But it was founded by Vernon Estes. And I assume there's some connection between the guy and the town, surely.
As the rocket leaves, Joel says,
You're all invited back next week to this locality to have a heaping helping of our hospitality.
and he said this, and I was like, what a fun phrase. I know I've heard that before. Where have I heard that before? Listeners, maybe you've already placed it, but just in case you didn't, it's from the theme song to the Beverly Hillbillies, a.k.a. The Ballad of Jed Clampett by Paul Henning. And of course, it's from the verse that they sing at the end of the show. Y'all come back now, you hear?
There's a problem at one point with the communications equipment, and Tom riffs,
What's the matter with his receiver?
I'm not getting you.
I'm getting the Ha channel.
There's something.
It's been a little while since we've covered this, but Comedy Central was formed from the merger of two competing channels, the Comedy Channel, which aired MST3K, and Ha! Exclamation point. The two channels merged in 1991, about 4 months after this episode first aired.
While exploring Venus, the astronauts find an orrery. You know, a model of the solar system with the planets that can go around the sun. Yeah, so they find one hanging from the ceiling, and Tom says,
Oh, Alexander Calder was here.
Alexander Calder was a 20th century sculptor best known for his mobiles, high art versions of the things you put over a baby's crib.
The mobiles are made with fun, mid-century modern blobby shapes in strong colors, and if you haven't seen them, you should totally check them out. But if all you know are his mobiles, then may I recommend you also check out some of Calder's other sculpture. His wire art circus scenes are also fun. Links in the show notes.
I'm sorry, this final fun fact sacrificed itself, so the other fun facts might make it back to the Shallow 13. Please remember it as a kind and fascinating fact, probably about Karen Finley or Lightbright, or some obscure connection between Karen Finley and Lightbright. Please don't forget about it 2 minutes into the next segment, please.
And that's time.
Hey Chris, I want to give you a hot take on this movie.
Okay.
Hot take: First Spaceship on Venus is a road movie.
Now, Charlotte, you know that there are no roads in space.
I know. You don't need a road movie to actually take place on the road. It's all about the journey, Chris, the journey. And this movie is very much about the journey.
Sure, yeah. I mean, a lot of the movie is the journey there and back.
I mean, you also have the epic setup of all of the mismatched, goofy band of misfits that are going to be traveling together. Huh?
True. I would have liked a few more of them to be more distinguishable, but yes, broadly speaking, true.
Honestly, the problem is they were in a spaceship and they felt like they had to fill it up. If they had stuck with four characters, we would have known them all.
Or 12.
Or 12.
12 to the moon, and then we could just drown in characters.
But come on, even in 12 to the moon, could you distinguish every single person? Even with the roll call, it was hard.
Especially there, because there was no build up to that roll call. But anyway.
It's true. And in this one, we have so much more of a purpose, right? Road movies usually have a purpose for why you are taking this journey. And like, we get that in spades in this movie. It's great.
Are you a big fan of the road movie?
I definitely enjoy the road movie because the road movie is a movie that generally falls into that coming of age and the learning about yourself, the having adventures along the way. Like, I dig those kinds of movies.
Do the characters in this movie come of age and learn about themselves?
Well, I mean, they don't. But in road movies, that is not an atypical thing if the road movie is a coming of age one. Sometimes, it's a solving a problem road movie. Like, one might make the argument that Lord of the Rings is a road movie.
Oh, you're asking for all the letters. You're asking for all the letters.
Oh my God. All the letters, everyone. Lord of the Rings, a road movie. Hear me out.
Okay. No, I mean, they do walk a lot.
And there are roads, so you're not going to give me this fandangled argument like, there are no roads in space. There's totally roads there.
There's even the part where the road kind of goes away and they can't go on the road that they were hoping to go for, so they have to look for a detour, and that doesn't go very well either.
I know. And that's one of the things that happens in road movies, right? Like, unexpected things come up and they have to solve problems.
Don't quite go the way you think. Maybe an asteroid attack happens, maybe something else.
Or, Crossroads, the Britney Spears coming of age movie. The car breaks down, and they have to go get it fixed.
Crossroads, the Britney Spears coming of age movie. That's what, all right, that's yours?
Yes.
We're going to have that be your focused road movie exemplar?
That's going to be my focus movie exemplar.
I'm going to choose a movie that I watched recently that I made my husband watch because he had never seen it, and I thought that was kind of criminal. I watched for the first time in many decades The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Oh, fantastic road movie. Oh my gosh.
I will say, just a quick overview, it has mostly held up, though there is a big racist bit in the middle, and that's very unfortunate. But other than that, it is very solid.
Not everything is going to age as great. I'm going to say there's a lot of things in the 2002 Crossroads movie with Britney Spears that does not age particularly well.
Sure.
But that's going to be all right.
Fair enough. Otherwise, they're equal movies.
Absolutely. Lord of the Rings, Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, First Spaceship on Venus, and Crossroads.
Okay, that's the syllabus for this segment, everybody. I hope you did the homework and the reading.
Oh, this is making me so happy. I never thought I'd get to talk about Crossroads on this podcast.
Yeah. Okay, so Crossroads. I surprisingly, I haven't seen it. It's got Britney Spears, apparently.
I'm shocked. And Zoe Saldana, who is amazing, and Dan Aykroyd, also good. Okay, but wait, MST3K fans, it also has Kim Cattrall as Britney Spears' mom.
Oh.
It's totally great. Okay, it's not a great movie. I'm not going to make that argument.
Wait, so what else did you see when you rewatched Crossroads that reminded you of First Spaceship on Venus in its road movie nature?
So the mismatched band of people who don't all necessarily get along, who have some conflicts, but also some synergies. I very much have that between the Britney Spears, the Zoe Saldana, and there's a third girl. And this is terrible that I didn't write down her name as well, because she's just much a part of this trio of friends. They're old friends who used to know each other really well, who drifted apart and are coming back together to go on one big epic road trip together from someplace in the American South all the way to LA, because the third lady inside of this friendship is going to audition to become a famous singer.
Right. Taryn Manning is the actor's name.
Excellent.
She was in Orange is the New Black and a few other things.
Oh my gosh. All right, I'm just processing that for a little bit. And now I'm back. So anyway, the three of them, plus their male companion who's driving the car, they're traveling across. So there's mismatched, but there's past history. So that's just like the character Sumiko with the gentleman who she knows from the past, who they can't bring that baggage onto the plane. No, they can't. Don't bring that emotional baggage. There's a lot of that with these friendship characters going on. So I very much see the parallel for First Spaceship on Venus and Crossroads in terms of the setup of who is in the vehicle together. Because eventually, of course, they all have to learn to get along together and to work together and to renew their friendships and see the good in each other. And I feel like in First Spaceship on Venus, they all have to do that.
And in Crossroads, how do they almost destroy the Earth?
With karaoke, of course. That is how one does destroy the Earth. I believe that comes up in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert as well as a tool for worldwide destruction.
Yeah, ABBA. Yeah.
Yeah. See, there you go. And in this case, it's Joan Jett.
Oh, is she in this movie?
No, they karaoke her song.
Oh.
In the way that ABBA is not in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, just more gives life to the soundtrack.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. You know, very much like Enya in Lord of the Rings. No, I'm joking. But it would be so awesome if Legolas and Gimli just broke out in Enya at a karaoke bar. The Prancing Pony is suddenly a karaoke bar. But I digress. There are never digressions on this on this podcast.
Well, I do want to say one more thing. You said that Kim Cattrall was in here for all the MST3K fans, but I will say there's somebody else in the movie I'm finding out by looking at the Wikipedia page right now that is a person of interest to a lot of old school Misties who is in this movie. Playing a bar patron, it's a very small role, I'm sure, is none other than Gruber of the Higgins Boys and Gruber.
No.
Yep. Somebody who is on the pre-Comedy Central comedy channel just as far back as MST3K was. A real classic for anyone like me who just grew up watching that channel nonstop for a few years.
Ooh, well, it seems that Crossroads, the road movie, really has all brought us together and given us a chance to learn to laugh and love again, Chris. Just like First Spaceship on Venus.
I am so glad that we got to spend so much time talking about Stanisław Lem and about road movies. And I guess we actually did talk more than I thought we might about First Spaceship on Venus.
Who knew?
But we are running out of time. Is there anything else that you want to bring up as a final factoid before we head off to the sunset?
Absolutely, Chris. There's something I want to bring up. I think it might have to become its own segment. I don't know how this is going to work in the future, but I want to introduce a segment called I Object. I object to one of the riffs.
Oh, okay. Which riff?
Okay, so in the movie, in preparation for the flight, all of the crew is going to take a little nap so that they're at their best. And they have to put everybody into an artificial sleep. So Sumiko goes around and she puts everyone to sleep with the artificial thing. And then, of course, she has to get in there herself. And they make a riff that goes a little like this.
Oh, she's going to be watching My Demon Lover to put her to sleep. I see.
I object. I don't think the movie My Demon Lover is going to put anyone to sleep, Chris.
You know, I heard them say the phrase My Demon Lover, and even though I knew nothing about this movie, I suspected it was a movie from the 80s that Charlotte has seen.
And here's the worst part. I hadn't seen it.
No.
I hadn't seen it. It's a romantic comedy from the 80s, and it has demons. Everyone knows that I love Buffy. How could I not have seen this? I had never seen it, and I was like, well, if this is a movie that's a romantic comedy from the 80s that's supposed to put people to sleep, I'm going to watch it. And it did not. It did not put me to sleep.
Oh.
First off, the main character is totally freaking gross. He's homeless and horny, and he runs around New York City basically like panting after a bunch of women, being like, there's so many women, and it's so gross. He's so gross.
Is he the demon?
This is even before you know he's a demon. He's just gross.
Well, sorry, the title of the movie is My Demon Lover. You go into it looking for the demon.
Yes, he's the demon. But is he the demon?
Oh.
Yeah, I know, there's that. So anyway, there's this gross, horny, homeless guy. And the main character, whose name is Denny, she's like desperate for love, and she brings home stray puppy dogs, and she dates the wrong men. So who is she going to date? Yeah, the horny, homeless guy. And that becomes her demon lover. He is a demon. He's been cursed to become a demon when he gets horny.
Oh.
And then there's these deaths all over New York City of women by a serial killer they're referring to as the Mangler.
Uh-oh.
So Denny is like, is the horny homeless guy who is a demon the Mangler? So what does she do? She like starts kissing him so he becomes the demon to see if he'll kill her. This is not a thing that is going to make me lull into a sense of security and sleep, right? Turns out he's not the bad demon. He's the horny demon. There's a bad demon who's like a nerdy looking office worker who is also hitting on Denny. He's the Mangler. He's a bad demon, but the horny homeless guy's the good demon. And it's just like, none of these are good. None of these are good options. Oh, also, I am so sorry. This is a thing that absolutely will not allow me to fall asleep. In order to save Denny in the climactic scene, the horny homeless guy, who is her demon lover, has to become a full-on demon. How does he become a full-on demon? He has to be really, really horny and have sex with somebody. Go, quote unquote, all the way. So who does he do that with? Yeah, that's right. Denny's best friend. That's who gets it on with the horny homeless guy so that he can go full demon and save her. You've got to be joking, kidding me. That is not going to put me to sleep. There's so much problematic happening in this, not lulling me to sleep at all.
I want to state that it's okay to be homeless and horny.
Yes, but it's not okay to go about New York City grab-assing every woman you see.
No, that's true. That is bad. That is very bad.
Yes.
But I don't think that's typical. I think, again, this is media slander against horny homeless people.
Also a reason not to be falling asleep. We could be making some real progress on media's image and representation of the houseless. And what is happening here? They're demons. Really?
Are they all demons? Are all unhoused people in this movie demons?
To be fair, there's really only like one unhoused, well, there's like two unhoused people. And the second one, of course, becomes the demon in the end. Because, you know, how do you lose being a demon? Oh, that's right. You do a selfless act to save someone. And then the person closest to you becomes the new demon. And yeah.
That's what happened to Angel, right?
Yeah, sort of.
If you've been affected by the issues on this show, if you're listening to this podcast while on your own road movie road trip, vroom vroom, or if you'd like to ask us anything, get in touch with us. Our email is info@itsjustashow.com, and we're on Blue Sky, and either way, we'd love to hear from you. And this show is made possible by listeners like you. And like our randomly selected supporter, Sive. Thank you, Sive. For about $1 an episode, you can be like Sive and help us research and record this show. You can join us on our friendly Discord, and you can listen to all our superfan bonus bits. Find out more at itsjustashow.com/Patreon or patreon.com/itsjustashow. And if you want to follow up on anything that was mentioned today, you'll find links in our show notes at itsjustashow.com/episode/175.
Chris, our road trip has ended and we've returned to Earth. What will be our next selection for our next episode?
We are going to go back into space, or come from space, or something like that, with KTMA episode 12. We're done with our 11s. We're on to 12.
Okay.
Fugitive Alien.
Oh, this sounds like it might not be good, Chris. Is this going to not be good?
We will find out all about this version of Fugitive Alien real soon. But until then,
Mr. Toothbrush, you're the only one who really understands me.
the whole alphabet is there. We're going to spell out the words goodbye, suckers. Take it away, Theme Squad.
up those cooter cakes.